Hello there, comrades. This is the Lon Chaney Reviewer, and today I'm going to be discussing something that I rarely talk about on this channel. Now, you might be wondering, gee, what is he talking about? And the answer to that question? Lon Chaney films. Now, let's examine how bizarre this statement really is. I bought all of this because of Lon Chaney. Those two pictures? Yeah, Lon Chaney. These books? Lon Chaney. That's Lon Chaney related. Those are Lon Chaney related. Sort of. That's a really cool picture of guess who? Lon Chaney. And, wow. Wow. That almost doesn't seem possible. So let me get this straight. I've only done two reviews on Lon Chaney. So clearly this is a problem that needs to be fixed. So on this installment of Silent Film Saturday, I've decided to examine one of Lon Chaney's more underappreciated works that I think is actually quite good. And that film is called Mockery, which interestingly enough is the term that most people use to describe the fact that I've only reviewed two Lon Chaney films. It's a tidbit in case you guys didn't know. Now you might also be asking, gee, isn't there a limited supply of Lon Chaney films? And the fact that most of his filmography is lost makes it very difficult for you to make videos? The answer? Yes, it does, which is why I am proposing this plan of doing a Lon Chaney review on Silent Film Saturdays every other week, meaning The General was the first review, so that's not Lon Chaney. Second week is Mockery, Lon Chaney. Third week is going to be The Lost World. That's not Lon Chaney. Fourth week is going to be Lon Chaney, but I haven't revealed that yet, which I won't do that until next week. So this is hopefully going to keep me going for a long while, and when I have no more Lon Chaney films to review, hopefully my fan base will support me in other silent films that I will be reviewing. So let's get started with my review of Mockery. Now let's examine the contents of this package. This is a DVD from the Warner Archive, which specializes in DVD-R packagings, which are basically DVDs of movies that don't have a mainstream appeal. Like, for one reason or another, Warner Brothers has the rights to a bunch of these movies that they feel not everyone's going to enjoy them. And I know a lot of people that complained about this because there are a lot of great Lon Chaney films like the original Unholy Three or He Who Gets Slapped or Tell to the Marines that are classified in Warner Archive and they don't have any special features, which I think is unfortunate, but at least they're available in some DVD form. Now, the other downside to them is that they're very expensive. I've seen them go from like $16 to $26, which I think is ridiculous for a disc that has no supplements. But besides that, I'm glad that I'm able to get my hands on this as a collector of Lon Chaney films or silent film. Now, this is basically just a flat-out poster of the film. Lon Chaney, Ricardo Cortez. Let's look at the back of this. Somebody gave this a really positive review up here, which I think is really cool. There's Charles Puffy and Lon Chaney, Barbara Bedford, Ricardo Cortez, and Chaney. And description has some of the credits, and for some reason Barbara Bedford is not credited in this movie for some reason. I don't know why, but that's weird. Or credited on here. I mean, she's credited, but it's not on this poster. And not on here, which is really odd because she's a much more important character than Ricardo Cortez. I don't know, maybe Ricardo Cortez had much more star power. I really am not aware of what happened there. But also, it says the music is done by James Schaefer, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Now, the other thing with Warner Archives DVDs is that they don't have chapter stops. That's the other thing that bothers people. And I can see why, because it does chapter stops for every 10 minutes. Which is a little inconvenient, but what are you gonna do? Alright, so now what do I actually think of the film itself? Well, I think it's one of Lon Chaney's most underrated pictures. Let me tell you the story. Basically, you have Russia during one of its many revolutions. You know, terrible times, famine, starvation, pretty common occurrences in times of struggle. And Lon Chaney, you know, is trying to find food, scraping off pieces of meat, barely eating anything. Then he finds this lady, probably by Barbara Bedford, and she offers him food in exchange for helping her get to where she needs to go. So Chaney's like, okay, I need food, I'll do that. And he kind of starts to have feelings for her, as the typical Chaney picture that usually happens. And yeah, that's basically the first half of the movie. He is him transporting her to where she needs to go, and him getting into the hospital and working for this family, the Geiterdorfs. But let me just go back to the first half, though. I really love the first half. You know, Chaney's makeup really works. You really feel like he's been, you know, maybe not necessarily starving, but like he's tired, he's ragged, and some of the shots of dead bodies and people struggling to survive really help convey that sentiment. And one of my favorite scenes of the movie is where Chaney is about to take some water, and then he finds this guy struggling, asking for water. Chaney refuses. The man dies, and Chaney tries to see if he's still alive, but he's not. And that's a very powerful and moving sequence, in my opinion. Now, the second half of the movie is basically, you know, revolutionary stuff is going on, and people are about to invade the house that Chaney is working at, because Barbara Bedford arranged that he would work at this place for because of his assistance. And I feel this half is weaker, mainly because of Ricardo Cortez. Now, he's not a bad actor or anything, it's just his character is so bland. Like, oh my god. I mean, he's not a terrible human being or anything. It's not like one of those characters. It's just kind of boring. He's just like, oh, I'm the good guy. Of course. So there's not really much dimension to him. Let's see. Barbara Bedford's really good, though, I thought. And she has mixed feelings on Sergei, because on one hand, Sergei does try to kill her later on. On the other hand, he did take several beatings for her. Lied in a hospital bed for several days. So, you know, she's really good in this movie. Chaney's very good in this movie, except for a few minor gestures that I felt like when he was drunk, it was a little over the top. But that's a really minor complaint. Let's see who else. Oh, Max Swain's in this movie as Geiterdorf. And I love that he's in this movie, just because I'm like, hey, is this the epilogue to the Gold Rush? If you guys get that joke, please comment below. Now, another weak part is Emily Fitzroy, and she's not a bad actress or anything. She's just, in this film, her character is strictly comedic relief, and she's really not that amusing. Like, the talking bear and dog in Nomads in the North are much more entertaining and compelling characters than Madame Geiterdorf. She's not a very interesting character. Let's see, Charles Puffy. He plays Ivan the Gatekeeper, and he's really good in this movie too. He manipulates Chaney actually in this film, because he's just like, hey, you know, this lady, she really do much for you. You took several beatings for her, And one of my favorite title cards ever, he says, "Do you think the pigs upstairs will ever listen to us downstairs?" And it's obvious, but it makes a point. And yeah, I really enjoyed this film. Also, the music. I think, yeah. Let me just double check on that for a second. James Schaefer. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. James Schaefer's music is actually very good too. A little place is a little obvious, but especially in the first half, it really does complement the very touching scenes where Chaney finds the dead bodies. Chaney's washing the feet. It's also quite good towards the end of the picture. And yeah, those are really just my opinions on this film. I really felt the first half was excellent, and the second half, while less than perfect, still was tolerable. And the rest of the film is so good that I really don't mind. So overall, I would say if you're a Chaney fan, pick this up or watch it on TCM, because paying $20 for a DVD with no supplements kind of sucks. But at the same time, there aren't a lot of Chaney films out there that are on DVD, and that's really sad because of their status as being lost films. A lot of them, of course. But I felt this was very good. Thank you guys very much. Hey there, YouTube. I just want to one more thing. Mike Kocher requested this film, and I have to say thank you for your support. Also, like I said, next Saturday is going to be The Lost World, and the week after that's going to be Lon Chaney, and that's going to be the schedule. This week is Chaney, next week non-Lon Chaney, so on and so forth. So that's about it. If you don't catch me on my King Kong review, I'll check you out next time for Silent Film Saturdays. See you later. Why don't you do more reviews?